record on this computer. So this is Mary Curick, and I'm with Frontrunners Innovate magazine, and I'm doing an investor interview with Atif Zafar. So Atif, I've known you for a little while, and every time that you and I talk, I find out a new company that you're working with. So I know you do a lot of advising and some investing in certain companies, and particularly in the healthcare space, because you have that heart and that background for that. But tell me, what was the first company that you dove into and gave some money to and lent your talents to, and why did you do it?
So the first company, I think, was my own company. And, you know, there's a saying in the investment community that, you know, if you're going to invest in a company, you should have skin in it, skin in the game. So if I am going to be an entrepreneur and do startup companies, you know, investors always look for whether the investor, whether the founder of the company has skin in the game, whether they would invest in their own company. And that makes it much more attractive to an investor than if there was nobody who's investing in the company. So I've always been a person who has been very creative, you know, from very early in childhood. And as I grew up, I realized that I had a talent for innovation, and even through school and college and, you know, medical school afterwards, I've always been involved in designing innovative products and ideas. So back about 15 years ago, I had an opportunity to meet someone who wanted a physician's help in starting a company that revolutionized cardiac care. And so we started a company called Meridian Cardiovascular Systems. And although I found investors, I was the first one to invest in that company. And even it was it was a joint venture between himself and myself. So that was the first one. And then subsequently, you know, what I look for in companies are a couple of things. The first thing I think is the team that is really critical. Beyond the product idea, beyond the market itself, beyond the IP that they have, or, you know, anything else, is the team able to execute that idea and make money? That really is the key metric any investor looks at. Beyond that, I think they get excited by whether this is something they know anything about. Do they have to learn about this area of innovation? You know, what is the end goal here? Are they helping people? You know, so, but really the first thing you look for is the team. And so in looking at, you know, myself investing in companies, I look at the track record of the CEO. I look at what other industries they have been involved with. And based on that, you know, and I'm someone who can see technology evolve pretty quickly. So I can predict what's going to happen 5-10 years down the line. And if I see that spark in that entrepreneur, that they are passionate about what they're doing and they see pushing this area of human endeavor forward, then that really excites me. And that's how I decide to invest.
You know, what you just explained is something that you either hear over the phone or you see in person. It's hard to get that from a pitch deck that a lot of people would send out. Right. But speaking of pitch decks, because we do know they're very important, and that maybe gets the first, you know, motivation to have a conversation out there. I'm going to ask this a little bit backwards. Rather than what you look for in a pitch deck, what do you think is missing in most pitch decks that you've seen?
So I think a lot of the problems with people who are entrepreneurs is that they try to be the salesman, and you can't really be both salesman and entrepreneur. I think the entrepreneur comes from a different mindset than someone who's a marketing person or who's an investment person. You know, the goals are different. The entrepreneur will always evangelize their technology, no matter what. The person who is the investment advisor to that company looks at the world in a much different way. They look at, okay, whether this product is going to be successful in the space of the competition. What is the chance that the entrepreneur will execute the idea? You know, do they have a team around them that has the competence to be able to take this product to market? Do they have a CEO who is, you know, field proven and can take this kind of product to market? Do they have experience in this area of endeavor? Those are the things you really look for. So if you get a pitch deck from an entrepreneur, it looks a lot different than if the pitch deck was written by someone who is adept at investing. And so you can tell immediately from looking at the pitch deck whether it was written by the entrepreneur or whether they had hired someone or they have someone on the team who knows how to talk to investors. The things you look for typically in an investment pitch deck would be, what's the product, what's the competition, what's your IP, what are your milestones for getting this product to market, what are some regulatory hurdles or some other hurdles you might face, what is your pro forma income projection, where do you see yourself being in 10 years, things like that. So really, from the investment point of view, they're not really interested in the product. They're interested in how quickly can you make money on the product. And the idea is not every good idea is a good product that will sell. And you have to be able to distinguish between those two. And oftentimes that information is what's missing in the pitch deck, is how do you take this idea, which is a great idea, how do you actually sell it?
I think that's fascinating. In other conversations that I've had with investor types, they've said the same thing. The first thing that hit them is they've got to believe in the team, whoever the leadership is. They've got to know that that leadership is there. But what I think is fascinating is even more than the product itself. There's these other pieces that need to be in place that have to excite you first. It needs to be a viable product, so and it needs to be scalable.
Right.
Interesting. So let me ask you, you've got probably, I don't know, half a dozen
yes.
companies that you're involved with right now. Why don't you share a little bit now about those companies and, what, maybe if you have a role that you're playing with them now.
Sure. If I were to sort of categorize the areas of innovation that I'm involved with, it would really be two different things. One is in healthcare and the other is in high technology. And then there are some that are overlaps of both. So in terms of healthcare devices, we have basically wearable medical devices and interventional devices that allow you to basically provide some sort of therapy for some condition. So in terms of the wearable devices, we have two products I'm working on. One is a wearable device that you wear behind your ear, almost like a hearing aid, that helps control symptoms of pain, anxiety, depression, and sleeplessness. These are common symptoms related to a bunch of different medical diseases, and we can target all those symptoms with one device that's non-invasive, that's wearable, and it has been shown in early clinical trials to be very effective in reducing the need for things like pain medications, anxiety medications, helping with better sleep, better productivity, and then a whole host of other conditions that have those types of symptoms as their hallmarks. So that device is currently in clinical trials. We hope to go to market by the end of the year and early next year, and it'll be very nice. The other wearable device that I'm working on is a very interesting device meant for the post-COVID era. And the idea is that we can put a patch on you and it will provide continuous record of your vital signs. So your heart rate, your respiratory rate, your body temperature, your SpO2, which is your oxygen concentration in the blood, all those vital signs can be continuously monitored, sent to your phone or to a local storage facility or something, and then some AI process can analyze that data and provide you with feedback. So if you might be a COVID patient, they might tell you, hey, your oxygen level is going down, your heart rate is going up, increase your oxygen, dial on your oxygen concentrator. Or if you're a COPD patient or a heart failure patient, they might provide you with feedback about what to do. Take an extra dose of your water pill or take a rest for a little while and recheck your vital signs, things like that. So there are home monitoring devices that help you manage chronic diseases at home. That's an interesting device. Then I'm working on another device that is a replacement for a heart catheter that will use a technology called radio frequency ablation, which is common in many medical procedures, but this time it will be used to treat the plaque inside your arteries. So you have plaque buildup as you get older, and that's what causes heart disease and blockages of arteries in the heart. So instead of using bypass surgery or stents, we can apply this RF ablation technology from inside the artery and actually vaporize the plaque in your arteries. So it's almost like a roto-rooter for your arteries. But we have a way to visualize where you're going as well. It's not a blind procedure. We marry ultrasound with the RF ablation. So now you have the ability to see where you're going and then treat the plaque at the same time. So that project is in development right now. We're raising a Series A round, and we've raised about $2.5 million so far. Got a lot of patents on it, done some early development work, and we're kind of doing some partnerships to build a second Series A capital raise to be able to kind of manufacture a first human prototype. Those are sort of the medical devices I'm working on. And then I have a bunch of technology initiatives. So the first one is a sort of a handheld mobile supercomputer that is the size of a small tablet PC. And it can perform operations that are equivalent to what you might get from an Amazon server farm. So all in the palm of your hands. And so we can deploy it in many locations for many different things. For example, we're talking to some car companies that want to put this into their cars for use as a self-driving car computer. We're talking to people in aerospace. We're talking to people in embedded computing, medical devices, and so on. So it would be used as a high-performance computer that can be embedded into devices. So that's one company. And then I have another company that is doing work related to education for engineers. So we're developing small circuit boards that can be used in engineering classes to teach students how to program and how to develop hardware. And we have interest from people in India, in China, in the US, multiple areas of the world. So, those are some of the things I'm working on. Then I have some other companies that I'm partnered with that I'm not the primary inventor, but I have companies such as DigBridge that is using, doing privacy-related activities for consumer privacy. I have a mobile power grid company that is raising money to build small power units for use in the third world so that they can have electricity 24/7 where they have none right now. So we're making a lot of headway in that company and some other things like that. So it's a pretty diverse, field of innovations I'm involved with. And all these technologies in the end are helping people. That is really the bottom line in my investment sort of strategy, is everything I do somehow ends up helping people.
Exactly what it should be. I would expect nothing less. Yeah. So last quick question. How do people, I don't know if these people came to you and pitched you, or you found them, or somebody introduced them to you. How does somebody like you find these innovators, or how do they find you?
So I think one of the biggest efforts that you can make as an entrepreneur is to create your network. As Steve Jobs always said, you want to hire people around you who can teach you things, people that are smarter than you, so you can learn from them and grow from them. And so that's what I try to do, is create this giant network of people around me that are very smart, that are involved in multiple domains. And it's through them that I get these ideas and, get forwarded some ideas for companies that are looking for money and, that have innovative concepts. So it's creating that network that's so important.
It is. And as you know, that's kind of what we do, with Frontrunners Development Inc. and the magazine and the league. So we're all about the business development end of things and trying to help people further their impact, or at least get to the point where they're ready to make impact. So anyway, thank you for your time, Atif. We appreciate everything that you do, and just keep doing it, because we need people like you. We need more like you.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much, Mary.
Okay. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.